Welcome to CEO Interviews, a production of Gorcom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives about what's going on at their companies. With us today, because there's a lot going on at his company, Shafin Diamond, CEO, founder, Victory Square Technologies. Trades on the CSE under the stock symbol VST. For our friends in the US, VSQTF. And for our friends in Europe on Frankfurt under 6F6. For those of you new to the story, that's going to be a lot of you because this is just our second interview, but our first interview hit it out of the park. Victory Square essentially builds, acquires, invests in promising startups, then provides them not just the money, but the senior leadership, the resources, and what they need to grow on a fast track. In some cases, even clients and end-use applications. It's amazing. An example of one of the great successes is our very own Fans Unite that all of you in Agoracom know really well. Trades on the CSC under Fans and on the OTC QB under Fun FF. They're the small cap iGaming super company, which traded a 52 high recently. Well, Victory Square acquired that company for $2 million in stock, took it public at a $25 million market cap, currently trades at $120 million market cap. So you got a good idea of what they do. Q3 record income, just under 9 mil, 12 cents per share in Q3. They're hitting out of the park. Shafin, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, George. Really enjoyed speaking with you last week, so we're excited to be back.
Hey, glad to have you because you put out some pretty cool news. The first one is something about Victory Square and a dividend, which is really exciting. But before we get to that, because there are going to be a lot of new people watching, what's the thesis behind what you guys are building and what you invest in? Because there are new people who are watching every day or listening, and I want them to have a good idea of what your thesis is.
Yeah, so our thesis is, is kind of, we believe extraordinary performance comes from seeing things other people don't. And so we're looking, 10, 20 years in the future at how, these new disruptive innovation platforms that have been, coming out are going to impact how we eat, work, play, and communicate, over the next 10 to 20 years. So we look for those disruptive, innovative technologies. We kind of refer to them as, this fourth industrial revolution. And these 5 platforms kind of revolve around DNA sequencing, energy storage, blockchain, artificial intelligence, and robotics. So we look for companies and opportunities kind of around those sectors that our team has experience in. And again, over the last 20 years, we've seen innovation come from everywhere, and technology is borderless. So we try to find some of the brightest entrepreneurs and brightest companies from around the world that are working on or creating solutions or solving pain points using these disruptive kind of technologies. And we become the first kind of check-in or the early or first investor in. And VST is public. So our whole goal was to kind of democratize access to, the next best startups or the next best entrepreneurs. And allow retail investors around the world to invest in Victory Square and get access to these things.
And that's a value problem. I love the fact to use that term access, because the fact of the matter is there are a lot of small cap investors out there. They're good investors, they're smart, but they don't have the time. They hear the terms artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, blockchain, fintech, DNA, everything talk, robotics, but they don't have the time to do the due diligence work that you guys do. So fair to say, Shafin, amongst many things, that the overwhelming value proposition for small cap investors is that they get a chance to piggyback off of your deal funding source. You got 80 accelerators around the world, your due diligence, and you're the guys who at the end of the day decide, with some level of great intelligence, what companies to invest in, something that they can never do on their own.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You always hear people say, I wish I could have invested in, Amazon when it first kind of, came out, or Facebook, for that matter. Most people only get access to, innovative, disruptive technology companies once they're publicly listed and their valuations are very significant, or if they happen to be in an area, let's say like San Francisco or the Valley or Silicon Valley, where they have access to, through friends of friends, within their geographic area for disruptive type of companies. And so for us, these 80 accelerators that we've, built relationships with around the world really gives us in VST a hand into working with vetted colleagues around the world who are sharing some of these bright minds, kind of to us. And like you mentioned, our due diligence, process in picking these winners from around the world. And then the experience that our team has. So, a couple of things. It's not just the due diligence, but when we decide to invest in a company, it's because we have experience in that space, or we already have distribution or customers kind of lined up, which gives those businesses the best chance of success. So, like you mentioned, access, given that we've built up this network over 20 years to find some of the best companies. And then our partners and experiences that we have to be able to ensure that these companies can commercialize and have all the resources they need to kind of grow and thrive. And it doesn't matter where you are as an investor in the world, because we're publicly traded, audited, and transparent and liquid, you have the ability, to invest, from Europe or the US or Canadian exchange and market. So, access is the key. And like you mentioned, we've got 23 companies currently in our portfolio in all of these disruptive, kind of sectors and spaces that are going to be, we believe, giants over the next, 10 to 20 years.
Okay. Again, it's almost like we're in simpatico, but this has not been scripted because you just ended off with what I was going to ask you, giants of the next 20 years. But the question I was going to ask you is, what do you say to investors say, Shafin, that's great. Victory Square is awesome. But you know what? We've missed Tesla. We've missed Google. We've missed Amazon. We've missed all the big wins now. So what's left? What's your answer to them? I know what the answer is, but what's your answer to them?
Well, looking back, I've been in the tech space for 20 years, and every time I feel like I've missed one, there's a new one forming. And I think we've seen a lot of startups and a lot of like innovative companies and disruption come out of chaos, kind of in let's say the global economy. So, from the .com, boom to the .com kind of correction, we saw a lot of innovation kind of come through there. Same thing through the financial recession in 08, 09. I mean, Bitcoin came out of that. And I think with what we're going through right now, with the pandemic, it's impacted people globally. I think people and entrepreneurs are reimagining the way the world is going to be over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So when you think you might have missed out on the last batch, and when you mentioned Tesla as an example, I mean, Tesla, Netflix, Airbnb, a lot of these formed, maybe 10, 15 years ago. So they're hitting their stride after, let's say, a decade of build. So that next breed, that new breed of companies leveraging kind of these new innovative platforms we were talking about to disrupt the next 10 or 20 years, this is the time to find those. So, every time you think you've missed one, that means there's a new breed, kind of forming.
Yeah, and I'm going to just add into that. Shafin, this team are the experts, but our thesis has been that this decade is going to create 3 times more wealth out of small cap disruptive companies in the last 2 decades combined. And I think I'm being conservative on that. There are industries that are being born right now, NFT, non-fungible tokens. We're not going to even, but it's amazing. These are all going to be multi-billion, 100 billion, maybe even $1 trillion businesses that didn't exist 18 months ago or 2 years ago. So that's the general thesis. Let's get into some specifics. One press release you put out, Victory Square announces GameOn share dividend for VST shareholders, Victory Square shareholders. So what's GameOn Entertainment first? And what's the situation there? Why are you guys why this dividend?
Yeah, so GameOn, Rockstar team, the company came out of Techstars, New York, and they were building, gamification tools for live sports pre-pandemic, pre-COVID, and then they started to build a gamification platform that static content and traditional TV operators could use to create a community around that content. In the traditional TV, you keep hearing these news about cord cutting as more and more people are going online and viewing content on Hulu or OTT networks like Netflix, Disney Plus. You see all the viewers on Twitch. What GameOn originally had built was a product that could live on that could be plugged into set-top boxes, kind of around the world, and create a community or gamify static content. So, for example, if you and I were watching, let's say The Bachelor with our wives, we were,
Don't say that.
Well, a bunch
Okay,
of
let's say that.
a bunch of couples were watching the
Okay.
Bachelor. Right now, when you're watching it, if you want to have be part of Bachelor Nation, you would go online and have a second conversation. But what GameOn's technology allows you to do is on the first screen, play games with other people that are watching, either in a private chat or as part of a larger community, on what's going to happen next, kind of in the show. And there's a leaderboard where you earn points, where you can get rewards from the show or from advertisers that are advertising in that show. So they built some really unique tech to build community around content, both live content and static content. And it's extended even beyond, beyond TV. And so this is what they had been working on in Techstars New York. We found this great company, great team, and Victory Square, one of our portfolio companies, V2 Games, wholly acquired GameOn. Matt Bailey, who is the CEO of GameOn, has taken on as the CEO, and they've assembled an amazing board. A lot of times when you're investing in early stage companies, the team is so important. The team's ability to execute. And Matt, who's the CEO, brought on board members who have experience at Take-Two Interactive. So Jay Moses, who's the chairman of GameOn. He's huge. Take-Two Interactive is a $25 billion publicly traded company with titles like NBA 2K and Grand Theft Auto. And just his experience over 30 years, having been in the media and gaming spaces. He's also advised a number of companies that have successfully exited. So, he's an amazing building block and guide for Matt in GameOn. And then they've put on a number of other players like Mike Vorhaus, Sean Hurley, Tim Cahill.
Who's the head of sportsbook at DraftKings?
Yeah, so Sean Hurley was a former head of sportsbook for DraftKings. And again, DraftKings is multi-billion-dollar fantasy sports and sports betting company trading in the US. Mike Vorhaus was a seed investor in DraftKings and in Skills, which is kind of another SPAC that was successful in the US. And again, you're bringing these people that have experience in that similar sector and space that can help guide Matt and his team. So again, great space, great product, great team.
Love it.
And then you tie to the funding. So the company has cash kind of in the till and a great pipeline of customers. But we decided to do a small kind of financing to kind of build a shareholder base. And we went to Victory Square Technology shareholders first. So anyone on our news list, we sent a note out to let us know if they'd be interested in being an early investor in one of our portfolio company spinouts. And kind of gave them that first option. And within I think an hour of that, we had to upsize the financing because the demand that Matt had was so significant. So we're very
1.5 million to 3 million.
Yeah, and the demand. So I think Matt was mentioning I think the demand was over 25 to 30 million of dollars that wanted to kind of get into that transaction. So again, very excited about it. We think it's going to trade very well. It's listing. I think at the end of this month, March or first week of April. That's really an exchange thing. But yeah, we're very excited about it. You mentioned share dividends. So the thesis at VST was to democratize access to the next kind of best tech companies. And so we look at that in kind of a two-pronged approach. One was to give Victory Square shareholders an option to be an early investor in GameOn, which we did. The second is to reward VST shareholders through a share dividend. So, for us, we've been very fortunate. Right now, we started in 2017. We're about the 3.5-year mark where, after Fans Unite, there's a number of VST portfolio companies that we've been working on that are commercializing and ready to kind of leave the nest and be listed on their own. And one of the best ways we thought to reward our shareholders, our patient shareholders, was to issue a share dividend. So they would receive, the option was to either receive a cash dividend or a share dividend. And we had such an overwhelming response of investors wanting a share dividend. So VST will give a share dividend on a portion of our ownership to VST shareholders. So it'll be proportionate to your VST shares. And this is great for a couple of reasons. One, it really builds a good shareholder base for GameOn upon listing, which that have, investors that have kind of followed their story.
Yeah, it's a captive audience. They know it. They're excited about it. They want to be a part of this. They want to be a part of Mike Vorhaus, Shauna, Hurley, Sabrina Carrozza, all of them for the next 2-3 years.
Absolutely, and watch it grow. And at an early point, and two, for Victory Square shareholders, we want them to be rewarded for their patience of holding the stock and continuing to be a holder or an accumulator of VST, because again, like you had mentioned earlier in the conversation, there's 23 companies. So we expect this to be not an anomaly, but not a one-off, but a pattern where, after GameOn, you have Immersive, and we would do the same thing and onwards, because again, it's not just great for the portfolio companies getting a built-in shareholder base, but it's great for VST again, and our shareholders, because with that reward, it will always place a premium on our share price as we go forward, because you'd want to be part of not only the new companies that kind of come into the mix, which we always have, but also, as you look at, over the next 3-5, years onwards, there's always going to be portfolio companies commercializing and ready to be spun out, and you can be a part of that at an early entry point. So
you kind of borrow that from the in the token world, in the crypto world. The big thing 2-3 years ago were airdrops.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's like an airdrop, right? And they're going to just keep coming and coming at the end of the day, and that's exciting. That's why I'm not going to speak for anybody at home, but you just want to hold on to a company like that, because it's just going to keep giving you goodies. And in this case, I don't know if you're going to give 23 for all 23 of your portfolio companies growing and growing and growing, but if you can do it for some, half, or most of those, that's exciting. So love it. And what I like, Shafin, is that the fact that you are actually living up to your philosophy. You're not just saying it. You weren't talking a big game. You're actually doing it, and you're making your shareholders feel as if we are a part of this. We're being rewarded for being a part of Victory Square. I'm going to continue to be part of Victory Square. That's fantastic. Another company making waves your portfolio, Immersive, which you're planning to take public. Immersive experiences, I guess. 30-second overview on why Immersive is so much more better than, or what you guys really love about it, and what's the plan for it going public?
Yeah, so there are a couple of things that we look at when we invest, and we kind of talked about them earlier. We want to be in sectors that we think are going to be disruptive, over time. And the virtual and augmented reality space is a sector that we look at because of that. The second is we try to find some of the brightest minds in that space, or quality team, and hopefully with a great product in that mix. And with immersive tech, we've found that. So the leadership team, Jeff Jang, Adrian Duke, and Team Bieber, we've worked with these individuals for a number of years, and we've watched them, build a great business. So immersive tech started off in escape rooms. So about 5-6 years ago, they started building escape rooms where there was a gamification component for that was used by large Fortune 500 companies from a training perspective. So companies like Lululemon, eBay, Allegiant Airlines, the FDA, Kalahari Resorts, and the list goes on. So they had built these escape room experiences, and what they realized were these escape room experiences were kind of one-offs, and the cost to rebuild a new experience or put in a new a new experience on site was a very costly thing. So they started to build VR versions of that. So over the last 3 years, we've seen them grow, triple digit revenue growth year over year. But again, they were in a hot sector early. They had a great product that they'd validated for great clients, solid team. But more importantly, the feedback from their clients allowed them to innovate and build, what's one of their newest projects, which is a location-based entertainment experience, which is a VR experience in a container that can be popped up anywhere from, family entertainment centers to parking lots to malls. And it's
big corporations. I'm assuming you can bring those into big enterprise.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the serviceable market right now is about a $35 billion market over the next 3 years. So, big space. Again, they've got a solid team, a great product. They've built product for large customers. Those customers have given them feedback in what's allowed them to kind of create this new experience. The revenues have been there. So again, very excited for that space. And also, you also look at comparables. So for VST, Immersive is a wholly owned subsidiary. So it doesn't show up as an asset on our books because it's consolidated. When you look at comparables in that space trade anywhere from a 50 to $60 million market cap to as high as 5 to 600 million market cap for companies like Next AR. So we're extremely excited about this company because of the space, the team, the product, the roadmap ahead for the next 12 to 36 months that they have, like the pipeline of deal flow they have. And again, what the comparables are to them. So we're excited because this is going to unlock value for Victory Square as a parent company when it's spun out, because we'll crystallize, the true value in our books, which will be great for shareholders. But again, also another business that we can issue a share dividend in this year, which will be great, we think, for VST shareholders, and in turn the VST share price as the year goes on.
Ballpark, when you guys thinking that might hit the market?
We're anticipating end of April, May.
So it's going to be right behind GameOn. I thought it might be Q3 or something.
No, our target is
Q3.
Q2.
Wow.
Our target's Q2, and Immersive is a company that's wholly owned by VST, so it gets audited, within. So we believe that we can get, and we've already started the process on it. Everything kind of lined up for that target date of end of April, early May.
A lot of people think, and then we'll move on to Hydreight, but I want to get your views for 30 seconds on when people hear virtual reality, augmented reality, they think, okay, cool little gimmicks. Do most people realize how big of a role virtual reality and augmented reality is going to play in our lives in the next decade? And if you could maybe paint a picture for where you think VR and AR is going to be in terms of our everyday lives this decade.
Yeah, no, it's going to be significant. I think you and I were talking about earlier. What the last year did was take us from physical meetings to Zoom meetings, and we were talking about all the innovation that's going to kind of come to Zoom and Google Meet. As people have looked at kind of this last year as a beta test on what's worked and what's not kind of worked. But what the pandemic also did is it accelerated the amount of time that people spend online and the types of things that they do online. And, new technologies always kind of advance and enhance that experience. So we talked about, this Zoom meeting. Well, right now companies like Cisco are using, they're taking it a step further, and they've got holograms in a boardroom from, individuals from all over the world. So we're already seeing, the improvement on virtual Zoom meetings to holographic meetings. We've also seen, one thing that's a kind of a key indicator is when you start to see where companies like Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, Google start to Apple start to spend their money. So, on the Apple glasses, with Facebook, on Oculus, sorry. So
Tim Cook from Apple is all in on augmented reality.
He's all in. And again, the I don't want to sound kind of like a conspiracy theorist, but like one of my favorite books is Ready Player One, and Ready Player Two just kind of came out. But it sometimes you think Hollywood movies are very far-fetched, but if you look back 20 years ago, some of the things that they had talked about are realities today. So it is inevitable. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So technologies like virtual and augmented reality, they enhance and improve a lot of experiences, a lot of online experiences, and a lot of physical bricks and mortar experiences that we've had. And so we've already started to see solutions and applications being built for that. And you see the large technology companies heavily investing in that space. So they're going to be big.
3 to 5 years from now, I'm going to say, Shafin, that you and I will be standing in hologram form in front of whatever investors are on this show today and will be in the future. And you'll be bringing in through augmented reality, oh, here's a logo of GameOn, and here's a logo of Immersive, and this is what we're doing. And it's going to be happening right in front of us. And I don't think people realize the power of things like that, but those are the new kinds of industries and applications some company's going to come and say, we can build applications for that, for Shafin to bring in logos and spreadsheets and documents, right? There's going to be some company that's in the garage somewhere right now that's going to be the leader of that industry for the next 10 years after that. So yeah, that's why I'm so excited about what you guys are doing.
One thing to note, we in Vancouver here, one of our portfolio companies, Shape Immersive, just worked with the Vancouver Art Gallery to create, an AR art exhibit around the city where we all have devices. That's the other thing too, from an AR perspective. We all have mobile phones, which immediately allow us to have AR experiences where you would go around the city, and there would be exhibits set up, and you'd put your phone on your phone in front of it, and you'd see art and creation come to life. You mentioned non-fungible tokens earlier too. I mean, I think we're seeing a big value on not only the amount of time people spend online, whether it's on Minecraft, Roblox, or other types of Second Life or other types of communities, but they're placing such a significant value on digital assets in that online world and that they're living in it. And without getting going off too much on a tangent, those are all
might blow people away.
Yeah, those are all kind of validation for again, like I mentioned, these are it's a matter of when, not a matter of if.
Yeah, my sons just the other day bought their first 2 NFT soccer players. It's amazing. It's amazing. Hydreight, we spoke a little bit about, give everyone a little overview on Hydreight, but there has been an update on the opportunity and expansion plans there as well, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So just taking a quick step back, so the digital health space is one you and I talked about on our last interview, is a huge focus for us. Quality of life is important, and we see technology as being a big driver in improving quality of life and preventing a lot of things that can be done. So it's a sector and segment that we are planting a big anchor in. With the acquisition of Hydreight, what it did was it allowed us to get access to a team, a technology, and services operating in the US. So Hydreight last year did about $1 million in sales, and they're on track for about $5 million this year. And we anticipate that to continue to grow. Now, what we've been able to do with that foundation is to build other types of services. So Hydreight was focused on specialty services like IV drip and Botox, testing, vaccinations, and on-site and on-demand type services like that. Now, and a built-in, a network of over 10,000 healthcare professionals across the US. What we were able to do with that technology was to take it to other verticals. So verticals such as, telehealth for pets. Now, it might sound far-fetched, but again, 50% of Americans are pet owners. They spend money on their pets. Pets hate to, anyone that has a pet, we have cats, they hate going to the vet. And we've started to see, as homeowners to become more familiar with virtual tools, that there's a, kind of a first line of being able to use telehealth services for pet care. So there's a line that has already been in development that we'll be releasing very shortly. And other segments we've mentioned in the past, we've got a discrete care. So we've got a whole brand and segment that we're using Hydreight's technology, both desktop and mobile, to provide telehealth services and prescription delivery for different types of, I don't want to use the word embarrassing, but services that people are a bit more private with, and they don't want to go in physically into their doctor. So what the Hydreight acquisition did for us is not only give us a company that is significantly growing, and just to put one thing into perspective, when you look at companies in the telehealth space, whether it's in Canada or the US, they trade at anywhere from a 20 to 40 time forward-looking revenue multiple. So that's significant. So this asset that we bought, our entry point was great, and it's going to unlock tremendous value for VST as it grows, and it's on track right now for, I was mentioning earlier, for $5 million in revenues this year. But also the technology, the team, and the infrastructure, we've been able to put on other skins to service other types of niche audiences in the digital health space. So again, very excited about Hydreight on its own, and then also what the technology is going to be able to do for those other services.
Healthcare is going through a paradigm shift, and it's going to become a parabolic into telemedicine, which is going to be parabolic this decade. The days of us thinking, I'm not feeling so good, I'm just going to drive over to a clinic, or that's the faster that those can be done, the better. And we see so many companies driving towards that. Devices that are going to, I mean, telehealth is just going to be, we talked about it in more depth on the last one we talked about Hydreight, but for me, it's just going to be unstoppable. And that's going to be great, because not only Victory Square investors going to benefit from that from a capital gains point of view, hopefully, but more importantly, it's also going to be great for society to be part of that.
Yeah, I want to add one note to that too. Is
Yeah.
when we look at telehealth, we look at it as a first order effect. So having the technology that allows for people to see or get any of these type of services that we've just kind of talked about, but where we've been actually planting our seed, kind of behind the scenes, is like you mentioned, in devices. So again, we have phones, we have iWatches, some have the Aura Ring, and we've been looking at two things kind of on the side. One is devices, which we're testing at the moment right now, devices that we can send to home to increase the value of that telehealth experience. So something that can plug into your phone or your desktop to act as a stethoscope to provide additional data points to your physician.
Sure.
Or software that will read a Dexcom device to be able to provide your healthcare professional with real-time data if anything is kind of offline, to be able to see you. So as opposed to you feeling, a lot of times we get sick and we don't go and see a doctor, and we kind of let it wane.
Yeah, it's a fact. We tough it out, and sometimes that causes a problem.
Whereas, like, again, with this real-time data on these devices, it's notifying your physician or your healthcare professional immediately. So they'll reach out to you if anything is kind of off, offline. So, the second order, which we've kind of been working on behind the scene, are these devices that, again, that you can take, in your home, or software that's making those devices smarter to provide data. Because again,
that's where I was going.
The thing about healthcare is prevention. They all say, if you had caught it early, you could have prevented so many of the quality of life issues we have with catching things too late or not catching them at all. And so for us, taking that data early to be able to get people on the right track. And again, that's part of like my own experience. I had a health scare a couple of years ago. I hadn't gone for a physical in over 10, 15 years. I can't even remember. And, my wife had been bugging me to do it. And the doctor found things which, lucky, unfortunately for me, I'm able to kind of correct. And I think the tools are out there. And that's why it's not even, like you mentioned, there's going to be a parabolic movement in that space. There's obviously a tremendous financial gain to be in that space. But for me, it's more about like also impact that we can have on human beings' lives, on people, right? That is our why, a really big driving force for us.
Well, think of the exponential effect, which is right now, Bob doesn't go in, Mary doesn't go in, so they don't get diagnosed until there's an absolute big problem. Yeah. Which means now the government-funded healthcare, or in this case, or in America, either way, someone's got to fund these things, and they're always stretched. Now has to put full resources on Bob and Mary because they're in stage 3 of something, or stage 4. Versus if we can have these devices, telemedicine, artificial intelligence, sensors, all these things working, and catching George's thing in advance, Shafeen's things at a very early stage, then it's so much easier on the healthcare systems, which are under less strain, and then can help even more people. So it's an exponential benefit, right, Shafeen? It's not just you and I get better faster. It's that you and I don't take up resources unnecessarily for the people who have to have those resources. I mean, the benefits are monstrous.
They're monsters, and that's why, again, research and data is shown over time. Research and development, innovation, they lower costs. They will improve lives. But they'll, like you said, for our healthcare system, they will lower costs. That investment today is going to pay off significantly down the line. Absolutely.
Yeah, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. There's a reason why they say that, right? So this is great. Last thing, should be no surprise, but I would love to talk to you for one day. We got to do some kind of a roundtable panel. I'd like to bring in I think one day what we should do is do a 2 or 3 hour event where it's you on for 20 minutes, then we bring on a couple of executives from one portfolio company, then you again, then other portfolio company. I think that would be
Absolutely.
powerful, educational, informative, all of it. That's why you guys are one of the most exciting companies out there. Should be no surprise that you guys are in the crypto world. You acquired some key digital assets from Aspen. What did you guys do there? How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, so one thing to note, I want people to know, we've been in the blockchain space, for almost 6-7 years now. It's not something that we've just kind of popped into. If anyone was to look up Victory Square, our digital footprint shows, we've keynoted the World Blockchain Forum in the past, the North American Bitcoin Conference, and D10E conferences all over the world for years. And I'm a big believer in Web 3.0 and this movement towards decentralization. So a number of our portfolio companies have been working on technology and tools. One, actually, we listed the first publicly traded blockchain company in 2015 in Canada. Just kind of as a stepping stone into that space, or bringing that space kind of to the mainstream retail audience. Aspen was another one of our portfolio companies that's kind of been working behind the scenes, both on the decentralization space, blockchain, and on the cyber building tools with respect to this, the cybersecurity space. So most recently, there were a couple of items that we looked at that we thought would be better to acquire under VST, to continue to build on and to license out to others. So there was a VPN network that they built, which basically acts as a user desktop miner. So right now, everyone keeps hearing about Bitcoin and Ethereum and non-fungible tokens, and they hear about all these different things, but it's still a very difficult experience for people to set up a wallet, or buy crypto, or store crypto, or be concerned about losing crypto. And so what some of these tools do is they're kind of like a gateway or educational way into learning about cryptocurrencies. So the user desktop browser is something you can download, and it just mines cryptocurrencies in the background. And there's a couple of different types of currencies you can choose. And so it allows you as a user to do nothing else, but maybe access or use some of the unused processing power to mine cryptos on your home computer, to give you an entry point into understanding and learning how it works without having to spend money. Within that ecosystem, there's also, if you want to become, let's say, more intermediate, we've built a microblock miner. So this is a physical device that you can actually buy, bring into your home, plug in, and mine one of 6 cryptocurrencies right now. So from Bitcoin to Ethereum, Litecoin, Handshake, Grin, Cosmos. So again, it's not very loud. It doesn't, take tons of energy. You're not spending $6,000 for these industrial miners, but it's something you can buy from home. It gets shipped, you plug it in. There's software on your phone, and it, again, tells you real time. So again, these are very user-friendly devices that are kind of entry points for people to learn about cryptocurrency without any sort of massive kind of, expense. And the third is a wallet that we kind of built. So, we have a money transfer service license in VST because of some payment and company investments we have in the payment space. So again, this allowed us to offer those same people, once you've learned how to mine crypto on your computer, or you've bought this physical device, you can use our wallet to store your currency on.
Yeah, you're closing the loop. You're just making all one-stop shop at the end of the day.
Yeah. So again, it teaches you, you can learn how to buy, hold, sell, spend that currency. So these are technologies that were kind of built under, the Aspen umbrella that we kind of brought over. And what we've been doing with VST is building off and licensing that for other companies. So there was a company recently so we had bought this IP back from Aspen. I think we purchased it for around 3.6 million Canadian dollars. And we put a bit of investment into some of that IP to customize it for another group, on which we sold some of that IP for 6 million Canadian dollars. So again, we've seen that with the increase in blockchain and the increase in decentralization and the increase in the crypto space, because we've been in the space for so long, we're getting all these calls from all these different groups saying, hey, can you build this product for us, or can you, license this for us? And so we decided to bring some of that IP in-house, redevelop it, and start licensing it out to other groups and parties.
I can't wait to play around with that too, man. That's awesome. Making these next generation items easier to use. We all talk about UX, user experience, all that. That's amazing. Shafin, another powerful interview with you. Every time I talk to you, I feel as if, the world is our oyster, right? Of what's coming, what's possible, and that Victory Square kind of democratized that for everybody at home to be a part of, man. Congratulations on, some great stuff, even though we only spoke a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Congratulations on how far you've come in a couple of weeks, and I can't wait till guaranteed we'll be on for GameOn, so that prior to then, and probably somewhere in between, because you're doing so many amazing things. Last word to you. Anything that you want to say to shareholders before we sign off?
Yeah, I actually want to send a big thank you to our shareholders. I think if we, our team here is very thankful and grateful that we have such a strong shareholder base and shareholder community. Since August of last year, we've seen, our volume increase, our share price increase from a, kind of a month-to-month basis. And we've seen these communities building up, on different forum sites online where shareholders are putting up DD material to let other shareholders know about it, setting up Discord channels. And we really appreciate, all of the feedback that we get. So again, very thankful for all of the shareholders. We really appreciate your support and your patience with, Victory Square and our portfolio companies. And again, we're excited to do our best to make this a great experience and a big win for all of you. So just a big thank you from all of us at VST to all of our shareholders.
Great way to end it, Shafin, because that's your philosophy. You're thankful to everybody. I think that's why you've got such a great shareholder base. Thanks for joining us today, buddy. We'll see you again soon.
Cheers.
To everybody at home, you've been watching or listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform, to Shafin Diamond. He's CEO and founder of Victory Square Technologies, trades on the CSE under VST. You can see that right over his head there. For our friends in the US, VSQTF, and for our friends in Europe on Frankfurt under 6F6. If you're new, there's a lot to absorb, but it's exciting. You can feel this. You've got to do your own due diligence. Two ways to do that. First, get to the Victory Square Hub Agoracom, get to the profile section, and make sure you watch the first interview we did with the company with Shafin, because it really goes in depth as to the company's philosophy, what it looks for, its deal flow, where it gets its leads from. Very, very important to do that. And then, of course, link over from there to the Victory Square website. A plethora of great information, treasure trove of information. You got to do due diligence, but don't say 12 months from now that we didn't tell you so, because Victory Square is doing amazing things. And I hope you've discovered your next great small cap company today. Have a great day. See you next time.